What happens when one perfect nightmare becomes too successful? Hollywood does not move on. It imitates. In the wake of Alien, studios around the world rushed to copy its darkness, its monsters, and its terror. Some chased atmosphere. Others chased shock. A few went so far, they crossed into legend. These are the most extreme Alien ripoffs of the 80s, the ones that pushed horror past the breaking point. Number 10. Galaxy of Terror, 1981. Galaxy of Terror is not subtle, and it does not pretend to be. Produced by Roger Corman at the height of exploitation cinema, this film exists for one reason: to outdo Alien by any means necessary. Instead of a single lurking creature, Galaxy of Terror unleashes a parade of nightmare manifestations born directly from the fears of its crew. Fear itself becomes the weapon, and the film uses that concept to justify scenes that are still uncomfortable decades later. The story follows a rescue mission sent to investigate a crashed ship on a hostile planet. What they find is a labyrinthine pyramid filled with traps, monsters, and psychological torment. Each character is stalked by a different horror pulled from their subconscious. This allows the film to leap wildly between styles, tones, and taboos without ever slowing down. One moment, it is a gothic space mystery. The next, it is full exploitation cinema with no filter and no apology. What makes Galaxy of Terror infamous is not just its excess, but its legacy. Behind the scenes, future legends like James Cameron worked on set design and effects, learning how to stretch a microscopic budget into something visually ambitious. The result is a film that looks far bigger than it should. Harsh lighting, towering sets, and oppressive shadows give it a strange grandeur. Galaxy of Terror crossed lines even by 80s standards. It became notorious for scenes that were cut, banned, or debated for decades. But that lack of restraint is exactly why it endures. It is not just an Alien ripoff. It is a manifesto for how far exploitation cinema was willing to go when no one said stop. Number 9. Contamination, 1980. If Galaxy of Terror is reckless, Contamination is completely unhinged. Made in Italy at the peak of Euro exploitation, this film treats Alien as a loose suggestion rather than a blueprint. The result is a chaotic blend of science fiction, horror, conspiracy thriller, and grindhouse gore that never settles into one shape. The central threat is instantly familiar. Mysterious alien eggs begin appearing across the world. When disturbed, they cause victims to violently explode from the inside. It is chest-bursting, taken to cartoonish extremes. But instead of space corridors and isolated crews, Contamination expands the scale to global panic. New York, South America, and secret military bases all collide in a story that barely holds together. What makes Contamination extreme is its refusal to slow down or explain itself. Characters die suddenly. Locations change without warning. Logic is sacrificed for spectacle every single time. The aliens are not stalking shadows. They are blunt instruments of destruction, green glowing eggs, oozing wounds, explosions of gore that feel designed purely to shock. The tone is bizarrely serious, which only makes it more surreal. The film presents its nonsense with total conviction. This seriousness, combined with cheap effects and outrageous violence, creates a dreamlike atmosphere where nothing feels safe or grounded. Contamination was heavily censored in multiple countries and quickly gained a reputation as one of the most shameless alien clones ever released. But its ambition cannot be denied. It tries to turn a claustrophobic space horror into an apocalyptic event, and in doing so, it becomes one of the strangest, most extreme sci-fi horrors of the decade. Number 8. Inseminoid, 1981. Inseminoid is where the Alien rip-off cycle crossed into genuinely disturbing territory. This British production took the body horror themes of Alien and pushed them into places that many audiences were not prepared for, and many censors refused to allow. The film follows a scientific expedition on a distant planet. After an alien attack, one of the crew is violated and impregnated by an extraterrestrial force. What follows is not a survival story, but a descent. The character transforms mentally and physically, becoming violent, unstable, and predatory as the alien influence consumes her. Unlike most ripoffs, Inseminoid does not try to be fun. Its tone is bleak, oppressive, and relentless. The violence is confrontational. The explicit themes are disturbing. There is no heroic catharsis, only decay, paranoia, and loss of control. The film forces the audience to stay inside an uncomfortable psychological space for its entire runtime. This approach made Inseminoid infamous. It was banned or heavily cut in several countries and became a key title in the video nasties panic of the 80s. Critics condemned it. Censors targeted it, but underground horror fans kept it alive. Inseminoid stands apart because it uses alien-style horror to explore exploitation without disguise. It is not a creature feature. It is an assault on comfort and expectation. That makes it one of the most extreme and controversial alien ripoffs ever made. Number 7. Forbidden World, 1982. Forbidden World feels like a film made in a rush and proud of it. Produced by Roger Corman and released barely a year after Galaxy of Terror, this movie exists in a strange echo chamber, where Alien is not just inspiration, but a template to be stripped for parts reused and amplified. The story is simple to the point of brutality. A lone troubleshooter is sent to a remote research station, where a genetically engineered organism has escaped containment. The creature grows rapidly, mutates constantly, and kills relentlessly. There is no mystery, no slow burn. The monster is revealed early and returns often. What makes Forbidden World extreme is its commitment to excess. Fluids glow, wounds burst, bodies are torn apart with wet, unapologetic detail. The creature design evolves scene by scene, becoming more grotesque as the film progresses. Every transformation feels like the filmmakers daring themselves to go further than before. The tone is aggressively sleazy. Sexuality, violence, and science fiction collide without restraint. The film does not aim for fear through silence or atmosphere. It attacks the viewer with noise, color, and movement. Synth music pounds endlessly, creating a sense of constant unease. Forbidden World was shot quickly on reused sets from Galaxy of Terror, which gives it a strange, recycled dream logic. Corridors feel familiar but corrupted. This reuse only adds to the exploitation feel, like a nightmare built from leftover scraps. Critics dismissed it, censors targeted it, but fans embraced it. Forbidden World is not pretending to be art. It is a raw piece of 80s drive in cinema that shows exactly how far alien clones were willing to go when freed from studio restraint. Number 6. Xtro, 1982. Xtro does not look like an alien ripoff at first glance. There are no space crews, no corridors, no corporate villains, and yet its DNA is unmistakable. Xtro takes the alien abduction concept and drags it into suburban domestic horror with shocking results. The film opens with a man abducted by an alien entity and vanishing for years. When he returns, he is no longer human. His presence infects everything around him. Bodies mutate, birth becomes violent. Childhood innocence is twisted into something deeply unsettling. What makes Xtro extreme is its unpredictability. Scenes arrive without warning and end without explanation. A toy clown becomes a weapon. A pregnancy turns monstrous. Violence erupts in quiet rooms where safety should exist. The alien influence feels invasive and personal rather than distant. Unlike most ripoffs, Xtro does not rely on a single creature. The horror is fragmented and surreal. Alien biology bleeds into human reality, creating images that feel wrong on a primal level. The effects are crude but unforgettable. Their imperfections only make them more disturbing. The film was heavily cut in many regions and gained a reputation as one of the most troubling science fiction horrors of the decade. Audiences did not know how to categorize it. Critics were divided. Censors were alarmed. Xtro endures because it does not imitate Alien directly. It absorbs its themes and mutates them. Fear of invasion, loss of bodily autonomy, the terror of the unknown returning changed. In doing so, it becomes one of the most extreme and emotionally unsettling alien films of the 80s. Number 5. Creature, 1985. Creature, also known as Titanfind, is one of the most transparent alien imitators of the decade, and it wears that identity proudly. From its icy setting to its isolated crew and lurking monster, this film makes no attempt to hide its influence. Set on the frozen moon of Titan, the story follows a team sent to investigate a mysterious distress signal. What they discover is an ancient alien organism that hunts with patience and cruelty. Corridors fill with fog, bodies disappear, paranoia spreads quickly. What makes Creature extreme is not its originality, but its persistence. The monster refuses to stay hidden. It appears, often attacks brutally, and leaves behind grisly aftermaths. The kills are mean-spirited. The atmosphere is cold, both visually and emotionally. The film uses darkness and blue lighting to create a perpetual sense of frost and decay. Everything feels dead or dying. Even human interactions are stripped of warmth. This emotional emptiness reinforces the horror. No one feels safe. No one feels heroic. Creature arrived late in the 80s when audiences were already saturated with alien clones. Yet, it still managed to disturb with its bleakness. It does not aim for spectacle. It aims for dread through repetition and inevitability. Creature stands as a reminder that even the most familiar formula can feel extreme when stripped of hope. It is alien without wonder, without discovery. Only survival and slaughter remain.
Number 4. The Dark Side of the Moon, 1990. The Dark Side of the Moon feels like an alien ripoff that took a wrong turn and never corrected itself. Released at the very end of the era, this film blends space horror with religious paranoia and supernatural dread, creating something stranger and more hostile than a standard Creature feature. The setup is deceptively familiar. A space shuttle crew is stranded after a systems failure and forced to dock with an abandoned spacecraft drifting in orbit. Inside, they find silence, darkness, and signs of something profoundly wrong. What initially appears to be a malfunctioning station soon reveals a malevolent presence that feeds on fear, guilt, and belief. What makes The Dark Side of the Moon extreme is its escalation. Instead of a physical monster stalking corridors, the threat manifests as possession, hallucination, and violent psychosis. Crew members turn on each other. Religious imagery intrudes aggressively. The film suggests that the alien force is not just extraterrestrial, but demonic, collapsing science fiction into spiritual horror. The tone is grim and oppressive. Lighting is harsh and clinical, punctuated by sudden violence and disturbing imagery. Deaths are abrupt and cruel. There is no heroic logic guiding events. Characters unravel emotionally before they die physically. The film replaces Alien's biological horror with existential terror. By the final act, the movie abandons restraint entirely. Reality fractures, faith becomes weaponized, survival feels arbitrary. The Dark Side of the Moon is extreme because it refuses clarity. It weaponizes confusion and dread, turning the alien formula into a bleak meditation on isolation and spiritual collapse. It feels like a genre implosion, science fiction devouring itself from the inside.
Number 3. Alien from the Abyss, 1989. Alien from the Abyss, also known as Leviathan ripoff, Zero arrives at the tail end of the decade when alien imitation had reached parody levels. Yet this Italian production still manages to stand out through sheer intensity. Set in an underwater research facility, the film merges alien with deep-sea horror. The environment replaces space, but the rules remain the same. Isolation, claustrophobia, a creature that hunts in the dark. But instead of elegance, the film chooses aggression. The alien creature is on screen often and violently. Attacks are sudden. Bodies are shredded. Blood clouds the water. The confined underwater setting amplifies every moment of panic. There is nowhere to run. No escape route. Every corridor leads to pressure, death, or teeth. What makes this film extreme is its pacing. It rarely pauses. There is little character development or thematic depth. Everything exists to propel the next kill or confrontation. The result is exhausting but effective. The production values are rough. Sets are cramped. Effects are crude. But the commitment to constant motion keeps the film from collapsing. It feels desperate, like the filmmakers knew this was their last chance to make an Alien-style film before the era ended. Alien from the Abyss is not subtle. It is loud, vicious, and relentless. It represents the final gasp of 80s alien exploitation, pushed to the limit before the genre burned itself out. Number 2. The Being, 1983. The Being is not set in space, and yet its creature could not exist without Alien. This film takes xenomorph-inspired design and drops it into a radioactive wasteland scenario, creating a hybrid monster movie with bleak implications. The story centers on a small town poisoned by toxic waste. From this contamination, a monstrous creature is born. It hunts brutally, leaving behind mangled bodies and confusion. The alien aspect is implied through mutation rather than arrival from space. What makes The Being extreme is its mood. The film is soaked in despair. There is no sense of wonder or adventure. Only decay. Environmental destruction and human negligence create the horror. The monster feels like punishment rather than invasion. Kills are vicious and unspectacular. Victims are not heroes. They are collateral damage. The creature itself is rarely glamorized. It is ugly, heavy, and relentless. Its design echoes Alien while grounding it in earthly consequences. The Being stands out because it removes science fiction escapism entirely. It turns alien horror inward. Humanity becomes the cause of its own annihilation. That thematic shift makes it quietly brutal.
Number 1. Without Warning, 1980. Without Warning is the purest expression of alien panic translated to Earth. Stripped of spaceships, corporations, and future technology, this film drops extraterrestrial horror into the wilderness and lets it unfold with brutal simplicity. The story follows a group of campers and hunters in a remote forest who become prey for an alien hunter stalking humans for sport. There is no communication, no negotiation, no understanding. Victims are tracked, ambushed, and killed by razor-sharp flying alien weapons that burrow into flesh and explode. What makes Without Warning the most extreme alien ripoff of the decade is its cruelty. Deaths are sudden and merciless. Characters are given no narrative protection. The alien is relentless, methodical, and unseen for much of the runtime, creating sustained dread through absence rather than spectacle. The tone is bleak and unsentimental. There is no grand mythology, no explanation for why this is happening. Humanity is insignificant prey. Even when the alien is finally revealed, it is not majestic or mysterious. It is predatory, cold, and indifferent. Without Warning is extreme because it captures the core terror of Alien without dilution. The fear of being hunted, the certainty of death, the realization that intelligence offers no advantage. It removes the distance of space and places the nightmare directly on familiar ground. Alien did not just inspire fear, it opened the floodgates. Across the 80s, filmmakers chased its shadow with monsters, slime, and shock. Some failed, some went too far. These films survive because they refused restraint. They are not copies, they are scars left behind by a genre pushed to its limit.